You're alive.
I'd still be a little bit early. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning, Doug. Well, yourself?
Very well, thank you. Good morning, customers, partners, agents, colleagues. Thank you for joining us this morning on, I think, a subject matter that we are not taking seriously enough. And I really want to impress on you that we need to start looking at this as the beginning part of your journey of ensuring that your total estate, and we'll talk about what that looks like, is secure. This is the first step. We have seen a massive increase in bad actors, and I'm just going to call them what they are, hackers, creating problems for us in market at the moment. So welcome to today's session. We're going to start off at 101. This is where we need to start. This is going to take us on the journey. We need to start sorting out our multi-factor authentication in our organizations. So to that end, the idea is to protect your whole Microsoft environment plus the peripherals around that. We're going to talk about the step-by-step guide, and we're going to talk around some additional services that are required or that you may require or may want to take advantage of in order to ensure that you're starting on a process that is going to stop the hackers from getting into your environment. And I'm going to put in the rider right now. This is step one. This is not the silver bullet, but it is the starting point of your security journey. In the agenda, and I'll be supported by I was going to say one of my favorites, but he's in the dog box at the moment. One of my favorite colleagues, Chris Barnost, in some of the discussions, sharing some of the examples and sharing the acceleration we've seen in the hackers' activity in this last 2 weeks. We want to talk a little bit about why this matters and what it impacts. Then I want to take you through not all 12 steps, but we will go through a couple of the steps to protect yourselves using multi-factor authentication. We must put a measurement in place that we know that we're improving our security posture on a continuous basis. And then I want to talk about the potential of monitoring your security outputs or potential risks using a security operating center for 24/7 monitoring and some training. So let's first see what's impacted before we go too far, right? So we find that there are four pillars, and I'm going to call it 4+1. Because there's a fifth element that we really ignore, and I think that that's a very critical part of the discussion. There are 4 ways and 4 places in which the bad actors engage. Their first step is to try and steal somebody's access. As soon as they have access, they will move into the devices. They'll move into your applications and then finally move into your data. This is a problem. So what we need to do is to make sure that that first hurdle is difficult for them to get into. That hurdle is to have multi-factor authentication in place. It is super critical that we get that sorted out. And then last but not least, it is imperative that we start on a long-term program that teaches our people what to do and what not to do. Guys, it's tax season, right? So there's a lot of people that are going to get a mail that says your tax has been assessed and your refund is ready and waiting for you. But they won't see that it's not e-filing.sars. They're going to see SARS. They'll click on that, and that document is loaded with hacking equipment that's going to get into their environment if they don't have a first step in place that's going to go, yes, but you need to authenticate the second time for you to unleash this Trojan into your environment. So let's not forget about this. And we need to have MFA, multi-factor authentication, on our work environment. We need to have it on the bring your own devices component. We need to have it in our applications, in our data, and we need to teach our people why we have it, and that it is in place to protect us from when they click on something stupid. Very, very critical. To that end, based on Microsoft's zero trust methodology, there are 12 steps that we need to take to help ourselves to get to that point. We won't cover each one of these. And I am going to say that depending on what product you have will depend on how many of these 12 steps you can take. But you have to start off at step 1. We must strengthen our sign-in capabilities. Multi-factor for everyone. I don't care whether you're the MD or whether you are the lady that makes the tea or the gent that makes the tea in the office. If you're accessing any of the company's information, you must enable multi-factor for everybody. Together with that, your administrators need another level of security. Let's go through this quickly. Chris, experience, a
Yes.
little bit of stats. What are the guys doing at the moment or not doing at the moment that's causing such pain?
Thanks, Doug. Yes, and good morning, everybody. So we have seen probably about 13 compromises on Microsoft 365 environments in the last few weeks. And if I say last few weeks, I think it's between 3 and 4 weeks, 13 compromised Microsoft 365 environments. So from a Microsoft 365 environment perspective, what I'm actually referring to is the Microsoft 365 tenant portion where your username and your password for me at Braintree, for Doug at Braintree, for Johnny Kotzer, or for Karen Kruger in your customer environment, where your username and password is stored and encrypted. Now, 85% of the compromised tenants were compromised due to the fact that multi-factor authentication was not activated on accounts that have got admin privileges associated to that. And I'll let you just pause there for a moment. And you might be thinking to yourself, what the heck? Admin account that does not have multi-factor authentication, how is that even possible? And I can give you context in that it's happened to customers that take security very seriously. And it was the unknown, those things that you don't know, an account that is hovered back in the background and has not been highlighted in some type of assessment that this has got an admin, that's got no MFA on it. And hence why I cannot emphasize enough from what I'm seeing happening out in the real world at the moment. And what's happening in the real world, I'll just give you a little bit of insight into what I've seen happen with some customers, not all. Deletion of executive mailboxes, deletion of OneDrive, deletion of finance, SharePoint data, the list goes on. We even saw a customer with a spin up of about $25,000 within a week of Azure services because they got compromised from not having MFA on that. Now, there's a smaller portion I can talk to about that, but while I unpause that, the consequences of what can happen here is I cannot emphasize to the audience here, more importantly enough, that you make sure that MFA is activated on not just your admin accounts, to every single user in the environment. Now, we can maybe progress to step number 2 there with blocking of legacy authentications. But as I said, MFA on every single user account. Make the authentication process stricter for admins. Limit the number of admin accounts or admin privileges on your environment. Look at creating break glass accounts, and more importantly, back up your 365 data, but make those backups immutable, and preferably outside of the Microsoft 365 environment.
That's a great summary, and I mean, I'm going to use a live example of something that happened. One of the organizations that we dealt with, and the break-in was so simple. They went through the website.
Yes.
They had a look at the contacts in that website and the email addresses, and they brute force attacked all 3. The first one was unsuccessful. The second one was unsuccessful. The third one did not have MFA turned on.
Yeah.
And it was an administrator.
And it was a support address.
And it was a support request. So if you think about how really hectic that little tick box that was not on for that organization, and what the impact was on the fact that they lost quite a bit of data. Now, here comes the thing, right? Luckily, they had backup.
Yes.
Guys, Microsoft does not back your product up. It stores it. So as a fail-safe, I would recommend that you have a look at a backup plan. But we don't have to do that on this call. I want to just stress the MFA, the multi-factor authentication as a big part. Because that's free. It's inherent in the product, in all the products that Microsoft have. So it's not going to cost you. Don't have to do anything. But if you want to start taking advantage of something like governance of devices, you need to be in a different space, right? So we're taking MFA goes onto the device. That's fine. But how are you managing that device? How are you splitting the information between like my personal information and information that's business orientated? And how do we protect ourselves against my personal stuff? Because that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah,
I'm websiting all over in bad places, and I just want to check that I can secure that. Sorry, guys, I do use layman's terms for some of the things that I ask.
That helps me because I sometimes get too technical, so it keeps me on the straight and narrow. So when it comes, with devices, I mean, there's and specifically the protection of apps and company devices, and more importantly, data. Data is, I think, the biggest one here. If out of all of those cases that we were talking about, where there was a data loss, it came from a device perspective. And a protection of application on the personal devices as well. Most of them, as I said, but protection of data with what you have already built into with your existing SKU. You have a lot of existing security features that you might not be using on your business premium SKU at this point in time. And those things include, and I just want to say that there's no additional cost to it if you've got a business premium. There's Intune in protecting not just your work laptop and your workstation, but as your mobile device. So when that gets stolen, it can wipe out remotely that. Any SharePoint data that's on that mobile device can get wiped from the Intune perspective. And then the addition of that, and that's where data which Business Premium, as I said, has to a large extent, is the use of Purview and applying sensitivity labels to pieces of your data. Now, a good example here, if you have got finance data that has customer data, ID numbers, or data portion, which I'm talking about, obviously, is POPIA-based information. What you probably want to do there is set sensitivity labels on that data, either confidential or highly confidential. Combine that with what we call data leak prevention policies, and that just takes the protection of your data in the reactive scenarios a little bit further. That's the first angle that you can do. It will help you go a long way if you do get compromised. Obviously, we don't want you to get compromised. But secondly, in the distribution of companies and sensitive customer information, it will prohibit internal users from sending sensitive POPIA information out to customers, or not customers, to users that should not be having that information in the first place. So it's a dual-sided approach, but I think use as many security features as you have built into your business premium at this point in time.
Chris, very, very, very critical at the end of the day, right? It is so important and imperative that it's not only about incoming risks, but also outgoing risks when you're setting up your security environment. People often only look at it from, well, let me not get phished, right? Or whaled, or whatever the terms are that we utilize in the environment and create vulnerabilities. But it's also about securing our estate and not supplying that data or data that we shouldn't supply, that will have a particularly bad legal repercussion on our directors out in market.
Absolutely.
I mean, you transgress POPIA, and I can promise you, you are going to get and go to court. I think there's a big court case on at the moment that's worth millions of rands to the plaintiff if they win, because their ID document and their, I think there are two things that were shared, the ID document and I think an address of some sort or the other, that has caused a huge uproar. So yeah, we must be careful, both sides of the coin. And that's why I'm saying the right product for the right risk profile that you are. So I would recommend you as quickly as possible get to understand what your risk profile looks like. And you can do that simply, and we'll talk about that now through the Secure Score. It's also the baseline for us to start looking at how compliant are we from a security management perspective and a data management perspective. One of the other things I just want to raise here, though, is that we are and have the ability to talk a little bit around detection of endpoint or the detection of vulnerabilities through a product set that helps us monitor, but that's a third-party add-on, and we'll get to that in a short while. I think the other thing I just want to quickly talk about, Chris, on this slide, because it's also incorporated in the product sets above business standard, is the conditional access.
Absolutely.
So, we can't have, here's my MFA, but I don't also put in place a conditional access rules, because it's rules. It's not a product. It's a configuration that you need to undertake.
Oh yeah, without doubt. And if I had to emphasize the importance of MFA, deployment of Intune data leak prevention policies, as I've spoken about, the other additional onion rings that you can put on top of your security, and definitely speak to your IT manager or your IT support company in looking at activating conditional access on top of your existing MFA. Now, what this does for your security, specifically on the Microsoft 365 and as a side as well in authentication, is it prohibits and adds conditions to your authentication on your tenant with things like policies like named locations. And what I mean by named location, let's take, for instance, we're Braintree and we're based in South Africa. Now, what we've done is we've added a named location called South Africa. And we operate now in the UK, so that will be opening soon. So we'll be creating a named location for UK and for Mauritius also very, very shortly. And we will open those as named locations. Now, what does this do? So now we've got the named location and we assign the policy towards that. And effectively, only users that are based in those named locations can actually log into your existing environment. So that prohibits, and that goes a long way to adding a lot of percentages on your secure score, number one. But number two, in protecting your environment from logins from even Thailand, Russia, where most of these attacks are coming from, the nation states and those type of state of nation environments. And extra layer of protection is pretty much what I'm saying. There are other more advanced features available in conditional access, not just on the basic SKUs, but things like identity governance, risky user behavior, and a lot of extra things that can be plugged in with as you go up the 365 SKUs with conditional access. But I would definitely reach out either to your IT person, your supplier, if you or us. There's a large assortment, or if you're curious about more features on that, to help activate the conditional access of things, just to protect your environment a lot more. Yeah. And guys, I say that everyone in the environment, the audience this is really just the basics, but it goes at least 85% of the way in protecting your environment, if not 90%. Then we can close out the remainder of the percentages with any other recommendations that come up from the security platforms and Microsoft perspective, but at least get that in place.
Yeah, Chris, and then the last thing, insofar as that goes, we had an incident around a South American director that went to South America, right? Just explain how that happened quickly.
Oh, yes, I can. Obviously not redact.
Well, you can't name names. I'm just saying. Yeah. So if somebody ends up in South America, it's not. So firstly, we're not geographically limited by where these bad actors act. Right, just making that point.
Yes.
Go for it.
So, interesting thing there is where we a customer that had conditional access activated, but the senior person was traveling overseas, and specifically to South America. So they added the name location for one user. What effectively happened there is that, and this is next level sophistication. The next level sophistication is where they are intercepting session tokens or security tokens from the user device on an open Wi-Fi network. So what that means is that the transmission of the data between the endpoint, which is in this case a laptop or a mobile device, and the actual Wi-Fi router, that traffic gets intercepted. It's not encrypted, it's clear text because it's not WPA2 encryption based on the device. We'll get the technical. Other actors can read that and intercept tokens, they can intercept usernames, they can intercept passwords.
Sure.
Now, because that was lifted, now there's additional steps that we can take with that and wraparound products such as Arctic Wolf and things like that to take it to the next level. But it's just something to reach out to and to be very, very aware of. There are tools, but just to add an extra layer in that, I would look at additional tooling with things such as Arctic Wolf.
100%.
To contain that threat very quickly. Fortunately and luckily, it wasn't too serious, but it was serious.
But it could have been.
It could have been a lot worse. Yeah.
But it was detected. That for me, it's all those kind of things at the end of the day that make this security environment an extremely important place to spend a lot of time and money on.
Good.
Okay, good. Right, people. So why does this matter in our terms, right? Our terms as normal lay people. It's an extra layer of security. It's the beginning part of your security environment is MFA. Get it in place. That's what I'm saying. You need to start having a look at smart access control for all your people, making sure that their passwords are long enough. Set the rule. Make sure that it's complex enough. Set the rule. These are smart access controls that you can put in very quickly and start eliminating access points to the bad actors. Protect your sensitive information, not only from being stolen, but also from leaving your organization. Stop phishing. Make sure that you have the right product sets. Find out what those product sets are and implement them. So if you have an Exchange Online Plan 1 account and that's all you have, wrap around Defender for Office. It will help. You also need a product set that can adapt to the threats, and Microsoft has a list of them, and you need to understand where you are now from a baseline and make it and improve that. Okay, how do the bad actors get into the environment? They go after your accounts first, right? So your identity. Then they hit the devices, then they hit the data. I've already said this before. But what I am going to leave you with here is our job is to make each hop between accounts, then devices, then data noisy. So we must expose it so we know about it. And we must be able to make it reversible. So it's no longer a case of if I get hacked. It is going to be a case of when you get hacked, have you got a backup in place to assist you to recover that data? Chris, to that end, I think this is a great place for us to start looking at. So how do we get earlier warnings if we're serious about our security? And separate to that, then how do we do, what are the processes we need to follow to recover?
Thanks, Doug. Yes. So what we found with a lot of the cases that we got with, and where there is a lot of additional value that can be added to your existing Microsoft 365 tooling set. So we talk a lot about business premium and how effective that is in addressing even 95% of customer security needs when it comes to data, endpoint, et cetera, But what really fills the gaps on that 0.1% or 0.5% of security components is a managed security operations center product or service. And I don't know if you want me to drop the product name, but
that's fine. I mean, it's Optic Wolf, right? This is a great application at the end of the day that you've found to help encourage better management of security.
Absolutely. So there it is. So what we've done in the meantime, just to enhance the security posture of our customers, we've onboarded Braintree as a Arctic Wolf partner and reseller, and we have started deploying this to some of our customers already. And while we're so excited about offering this to our customers as an additional security enhancement on your environment, is that it's a 24/7, 365 security operations center. Now, there are teams all over the world: Australia, Asia, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, East US, and West US, and some in Africa as well. So that when most of these events take place, or incidents such as what we've seen 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you're fast asleep, and your 8 to 5 security partner is also fast asleep, these guys are awake in whatever time zone they are. Now so there's a 24/7 coverage from wherever in the world, and this is off the cuff of them onboarding your environment through their concierge security team, And the concierge security team, it takes a few hours to understand your environment and onboard your environment properly, the Arctic Wolf ecosystem. And by the way, guys, this is not a replacement for Microsoft 365 tooling or for Business Premium installation. It's an additional 2 or 3 onion rings around your existing security environment that can help you just not have to wake up 7 o'clock in the morning and see that your environment has been compromised. Now, what's also very exciting, we spoke about this morning in our stand-up cuppa, is number one is 24/7, but it's what I always talk about is make sure that your detection is in place, your response is in place, but so important is that last hexagon, hexagon at the bottom there, that says manage containment, that there's someone that can contain the threat in the first 0 seconds, from 0 seconds when it actually happens. And that is the most important thing over there, what Arctic Wolf brings to the table, is that when an incident occurs, and we know this doesn't happen 12 o'clock in the day when you're wide awake and your IT guys are all awake, it happens 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when they know you're fast asleep. You want somebody to step in, take control, and block the threat so it doesn't spread. And that's it.
That's it. And I mean, for me, what's concerning, disconcerting, I'm going to say, is that if you have a look at that stat, like, and this is because the guys are monitoring, looking at whatever it is at the end of the day, 70% of new customers' environments have latent threats in them. I mean, that is scary. That is just really, really scary. Anyway, guys, take it to heart. Think about it. This is a place to take some of the burden of management off of your own threats, because, and here's my comment. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It can be very easy if you got the right tooling in place and you have the people trained. And what I like about this organization, and something I want you guys to have a look at, is that they do simulation training. So they will simulate an attack on your business. They will send out that email that says SARS is going to give you a refund. You'll find 20 people ignore it or escalate it to their security person. The other 80% will click on the document. And you want to get to those guys and help them understand what to look out for in case of a phishing attack. That for me is a great service to take up on. Why is this still not moving now again? Right, so important. You all, every single person has a security portal on their Microsoft tenant portal that specifically tells you what your security stance is and what your next step is that you need to take to improve that security score. And I don't want to make an assumption on this, but I can basically say to you that 70% of the people on this call, if you went to your secure score, the very first recommendation that is on there is enable MFA, enable multi-factor authentication. If you don't have it enabled, please expect a call from us in the next couple of days to talk you through how to set it up. It's critical. What we need to do is we need to be constantly aware of this. We need to have a starting point. If you are not at 85 base points right now, you are going to get hacked. Trust me, I'm not lying. I'm seeing it. And we've spoken about this before. It is not just ABSA and FNB and Nedbank and those guys that are getting hit. It is now any customer that has a vulnerability, that has an opening, you are going to get hit. It's not impactful on the user. Most people are holding back because they don't understand this. The initial engagement is set up what that second factor of authentication is. Is it a message to your phone? Is it a code? Is it your thumbprint? Is it, well, I don't think we've got the retina scan yet. Is it your face recognition? Set something up. Once that's in place, you will be asked every month when you change your password, which should be a rule, to re-authenticate using that second authentication mechanism. That's the impact. But you have it in place, and that is key. So work keeps working. There's no interruption. My call to action for you, upgrade to Microsoft Business Premium, and through Arctic Wolf, let's do some simulations at your organization to ensure that your trainers are trained. We've got an application stack to take care of the problems that we have and the vulnerabilities that we have, but we also have the +1, the user engagement, which we need to start looking at quite extensively from an education and enablement perspective. I'm going to stick on Q&A. I'm not certain whether we've opened this up with Q&A, but I'd like to thank you for listening to us. I'm hoping that the fact that we've been so, I don't know, I think if we used the word count on the AI tool later, the word multi-factor authentication or MFA probably about 1,000 times. I'm hoping it's resonated, and I'm hoping that you heed my warning, and I'm hoping that you heed Chris's warning, and I'm hoping that you do something about it. Thank you very much for your time. Opening up for Q&A. There are no dots happening yet.
Questions here. I'll put that in there, into the Q&A.
Right. Okay, team, thank you very, very much for your time. Please, as I say, heed my warning, and reach out if you need help with anything. Here we go. Sorry, there's something in the chat.
Is that, Johan, is that a question, I would assume? With the security score, it also tracks email security, etc. But what if we use Mimecast and other third-party security platforms? Sorry. I think I understand. The addition of Mimecast. Well, you can measure your security score from a Microsoft perspective via the connectors if you're using Mimecast. And other third-party security platforms, like if you're using a FortiGate on site, you can measure that with Sentinel. There's various ways of doing that. Reach out to myself or Doug to put you in contact with our security engineers to advise you on how to get that right. Not all third-party tools are supported, but most of them are.
The main ones in particular are supported, yeah. Johan. So we had a chat about the impact that something like Sophos would have on, or how we could monitor Sophos, and that's kind of mainstream. So there, FortiGate, as Chris said, Mimecast, as you've highlighted, is there. We just need to make sure that those connectors are in play in order for it to influence that secure score.
Correct, yes.
Configuration, Johan. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it.
I think I understood the question. Yes.
Oh, there's a Q&A in the Q&A. Hold on.
Isn't that me?
Is it you? Yeah.
How will that affect the Microsoft Secure Score?
It will improve it. So it's going to move it from 33%, which I'm glad you've had a look at, to 50% or 80%, whatever the case might be, depending on what components of the security applications you've put in place. So for me, it would run like this. if I have Mimecast Security plus Archive, I'm going to get a better score than if I have just my Mimecast Security. Makes sense, right? Because the backup is your fallback position should you get hacked. So that adds additional points.
I just want to add something there, Doug, please. For those in the audience that do not have third-party tools in place and only Microsoft security tools in place, your secure score is your most important starting point in any scenario. Then you need to look at taking that secure score and making it a minimum of 95%. You need to be tracking that secure score on a minimum of a weekly basis to make sure that that's maintained, because it's in flux the whole time. As the environments learn more about heuristic attacks, it'll adjust the secure score up or down to say where you're exposed. And number 3, on a weekly basis, act on the recommendations for remediations. Just act on it, get it done, and you'll have a large percentage of your secure posture enabled. And then you can take your security discussions further with the third-party tooling and what other tools you want to put in place there.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. Joanna, I hope we answered the questions, or else reach out some more and we can talk about that. Thank you again. Keep well. Look after yourselves. Give you some time back.
Thanks,
Thank you.
End the event.
Thank you. Bye-bye.